Where's the book?
In the case, on the table. Good idea. Oh, gracious. Well, I don't know if we've done this. You, of course, know Larry, yes, and even Stephen, okay? This gentleman is Gary Cogdell, who is blues in this area, and he has been at music for a long, long time. And he's a friend of ours. One of the things that actually he runs the setup down at St. George's. He started doing a little bit of painting for them, or being one of their neighbors, and ended up really being, the mover and shaker down at St. George's. Okay. Yep. So he's the place where everybody goes for blues, or just to meet the people they love and hang out a little bit. So anyway, he said, George was talking with him, and he said, "Did you just say Chitlin Circuit?" And George said, "Yeah." And he said, "I've been dying to know." So he said, "Come on." So we said, "Come on, come along with us."
I got a couple of things. When I was a kid, they didn't have internet. Of course, you probably remember that. They didn't have internet, didn't have all that stuff. And so I got introduced to blues from England, from Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, the Rolling Stones, and those bands coming here. And on the back of the record it say Willie Dixon, Muddy Waters, Howlin'. Who are these people? And so I'm trying to find them. Well, I'm going to New York, LA, anywhere I can see them, Chicago, mostly Philadelphia area and New York whenever they were in town, sometimes Baltimore, sometimes D.C. And as it turns out, there were 5 rooms, I'm told, from how's it feel to be your first time in Wilmington? He goes, man, I've been here a million
We're now
times.
recording.
And he gave me a bunch of names of different clubs, and these are the names he gave me.
Hang on, let's save that. He finally got it cooking.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so you now know who he is, and he's also Mr. Enthusiasm.
Yeah, I am Mr. Enthusiasm. I will over talk, and you can just say, "Shut up, Gary." And I'll take no offense whatsoever.
And of course, myself, Paula Walkind, and George Walkind. Kitty Mayo.
Hi.
Okay. Kitty is
I kissed him already. He knew in front of his wife.
Oh, okay. We're done. Kitty's part of our board as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. And George is slowly beginning to
have a nervous breakdown.
Slowly beginning to record our fabulous session today with the one and only Leonard Griffin of the Five Diamonds.
Okay.
Go, Steve.
Yeah, Five Diamonds. Also, they call you Griff, right?
That's it.
You prefer that?
Yes.
Okay. And last time we were here, you were about to have your 80th birthday.
I had it Wednesday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Griff.
Thank you.
Okay, and that was the 28th?
28th of February.
Okay, which makes you 8-0.
8-0.
You hit the big one, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I know what it felt to hit the 7-0, man. It wasn't easy.
Well, I feel like I'm 21.
Oh,
Right,
that's the joke.
Yeah.
That's the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. And how old were you when you started singing with the Five Stars? You must have been just,
Five Diamonds.
I did that yesterday. Didn't know the damn. I don't know why I got that. I think they both sparkle. I think that's probably.
We started in junior high school originally. We were talking the 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Yeah. And then we honed everything in when we got in high school at Howard High.
Okay, where was junior high school then?
Junior high for me was at Absalom Jones School
in Belvedere.
In Belvedere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of the guys that we talked to in the Continentals were at Absalom Jones.
Yeah, they were at Absalom Jones also.
Right, in the old neighborhood.
Yeah.
Okay, and all of you were there, you said, at Absalom
All 5 of you?
No, some of them were in Wilmington. I was the only one from Belvedere at that time. And we was rehearsing in each other's homes.
Oh, yeah.
Is what we did back then.
Right. And how did you end up making a record?
Well, when we got into Howard High and we really formulated a group and, start attempting to dress alike and whatnot to make it look original, we got Mitch Thomas. He was our spokesperson, and we allowed him to become our manager, and things took off from there. He was friends with the Philadelphia DJs,
Right. Yeah,
Kay
he's-
Williams and Georgie Woods and
Oh, yeah.
Jocko and all of them back in the day. And he would get us gigs in Philadelphia and Jersey over at the Tippin' Inn. Kay Williams owned the Tippin' Inn over in Jersey back then. So we sang for peanuts, but we enjoyed it.
Did you sing a cappella?
A lot of times, and most of the times, that's what we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had no music.
Backup.
No. We formulated everything ourselves, and we didn't really start singing with a band per se until we met Queen Bell
Queen Bell, yeah, that's
and
a
the
name.
Noblemen, and she invited us to be part of their ensemble. So she would let us know where they were playing, the Armory, the Temple,
right.
and Baby Grand, or wherever, and invite us to be part of that.
Now, Queen Bell, she played the organ, piano?
Played the organ and piano, yeah.
I've heard so much about her.
She was great.
I know.
She was great. I mean, and I don't believe, and I could be wrong, I don't even think ever one of them read music. They play by ear.
Right.
They hear something and bam,
Right.
they formulate it and right on.
That's so fabulous.
Yeah. That's quite a gift, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I grew up with. That's what I grew up with,
Yeah.
guys like that. I get on stage, they say, "Come to me, T, just
Just
start
play-
singing." And I
yeah.
start singing, and they play in any key I did. It was amazing.
And you started touring pretty soon after that. I mean, you weren't too young to tour, right?
No, we would, I think I mentioned once before that we were the opening act down the old convention center in Atlantic City. We would open up for people like Dee Clark, Lloyd Price, Jackie Wilson,
Oh,
all
man.
the old greats. And we would be the first act
Right.
coming on.
One of the things I just popped into my mind, the Quintaires. You ever heard of a group called the Quintaires?
No.
Okay. I think that was probably before that. The Quintaires, I found out, Betty Roche sang with the Quintaires, but there's no recordings. And that was in Atlantic City.
Okay.
Yeah.
What was it like to play with Lloyd Price?
I believe, I actually thought Lloyd Price was somewhere around here in this area.
Okay.
Because he was at the Temple at 13th and Orange all the time. Mr. Ricks, who owned the Temple at that time, a little short guy who had the Riding Academy up on 202. I don't know
Okay.
if- and everybody remembers that.
I
He had a
remember
big
Horse Place.
Horse Place, yeah. Well, he owned the Temple, and he would have Lloyd Price there quite a bit.
Okay. Yeah. Boy, that's gone back before there were any titles like rockabilly
Yeah.
or country, not country. You know, it was just music. But yeah, Lloyd Price, pretty cool, and the Temple.
Were you aware that it was called the Chitlin Circus?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the name. That was the name at that time, the Chitlin Circuit.
And what were some of the venues on the Chitlin Circuit that you remember, or maybe even performed at?
Alongside New Jersey was the Dreamland, Cotton Club, and the Elks Home. And then over at a little further down the street, Loretta's Hi-Hat. Now, she hadn't really opened up at that time, back in that day. It was just the Cotton Club, Dreamland, and the Elks Home. And other part of the Children's Circle was the Baby Grand,
Yeah.
the Temple, and we'd go out to Newcastle Air Force Base
Right.
and sing at the NCO Club. And all this was without music.
Wow.
We'd just go out and entertain. And,
What year was this?
oh, oh,
Well, you
that
started in
got me.
'54, so
Yeah, you're talking.
ballpark it.
You were talking, I'd say, about 59. About 59. because I did 3 years in the service. We broke up for a period of time, and the majority of us went in the service, and we regrouped when we got out.
That's cool that you regrouped. That really is.
So what was the first year you got together?
After service,
No, before the service.
what was that again?
Before
What was the first year you got together? I think he said it was 54.
54.
54?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you made that record pretty quickly after you all formed a group.
No, we had been singing several years before we were asked, or did we want to record?
Okay.
Oh yeah, we had been in existence back 3 or 4 years
Okay, so
prior to recording.
So if you recorded that in '54, you must have been performing together.
Yeah, remember I said we
52,
started in
53.
junior high school.
Yeah.
In '54, we were all at Howard in
Okay.
high school then.
Okay. Do you sing on the street corners at all?
Sang in the street corners, down at the Y, at was that 10th and Walnut?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, man.
Walnut
Yeah.
Street. Yeah.
Did you sing with any other groups? Any groups like yours?
There was only one other group at that time that we thought might have been competition, which we thought they weren't, and that was Frenchie and the Sinceres.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was we were the only two groups in Wilmington at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. Please,
Actually,
please don't ever leave me, or please don't leave me.
please don't
cheat on me.
Yeah, I
There
actually
we go.
played that this morning.
I heard it. Yeah.
Nice.
I wish we could find those guys.
Well.
You couldn't. Find
Well, we haven't even started. We're looking
Oh,
for a
okay.
lead.
Well, one of their good friends, Reverend Henry, is assistant pastor. That's the guy that gave me the names that I shared with you.
Okay.
And I called him. He heard it too.
Okay.
He listened and heard you talk about
Reverend
the
Henry. Which church is that?
Manna Christian Fellowship.
Is that your church?
Yes.
That's.
Okay.
Am I to assume that's in Wilmington, Manor?
Yes,
I was just going
733
to say that's
East
Wilmington Manor, I
22nd
think.
Street.
Yeah.
Who?
Isn't it Wilmington Manor around there?
Well, there,
Manna.
and
M-A-N-N-A.
like
Is
cake
it-
comes from.
That's
As
what
in
she said.
bread.
All right, because I had asked somebody, and I thought she said Manor. I'm half
No,
deaf.
it's Manor.
Manor,
Sorry.
okay.
I meant Manor. I thought it was Manor. I was
Actually,
like,
thought
really?
the same. Okay, Manor. Okay. Where's that located?
733 East 22nd Street, right on the corner.
Okay.
Up from Price's Run Park.
Okay.
Our pastor wanted to be in the neighborhood and have a service where it would include where a lot of things were taking place. He wanted to minister to those that were sort of downtrodden and had a lot of addiction
He could help.
problems and things like that.
God bless
He
her.
could-
22nd in Washington?
No,
No.
733 East 22nd
other side.
Street.
Yeah.
We're right off of Governor
Yeah, that's what I was
Prince.
going to say. That would have to be close to Governor Prince.
We're right off of Governor Prince, 1 block off of Governor Prince.
While you were lightly touching the Chitlin circuit, I think Gary's got a list of questions that he wanted. Is it applicable now, Gary?
Yeah, that's why I
I
brought
guess,
it up.
yeah. Well, I'm definitely coming from a blues atmosphere, so I talked to Hubert Sumlin briefly, and stuff. I think Ron Smith also talked to him, and he gave us a list of places he said he played back in the day in Wilmington, and one was Club Harlem, which became the Baby Grand.
Yeah.
The Spot.
Yeah.
He said
French
7th and
Street.
French.
You know what? I forgot and left them out. We used to sing at the spot, which was down in the basement.
Oh my!
It was a place called the Circle Bar. I
Circle
think there
Bar,
was a question mark on that one.
Yeah,
And
that's right.
A place called Rollo's in Mincredale,
Yeah.
Rogers Road. He said they played there, and Oddfellows Hall, 11th and Orange. Did you ever
That was the temple.
That's the
That was the
temple.
temple,
Okay.
So these guys, I mean, all the people I was going all over the country to see were playing in my backyard.
Yeah.
I just didn't know. I mean, and I saw B.B. King. I mean, I was not the brightest kid at 19. I saw B.B. King in 1968, the same band that recorded live at the Regal, at the Clammond Street Union Hall, because I was working down the docks, unloading the banana boat or whatever. And I went there, and friends of mine actually opened up, I think what they call the Enfields, a local rock and roll band.
Claymont.
And you know, we were the only 5 people not of color, I'm going to put it that way, in the room, and it was amazing. He came in, they played 3 hours straight, they segued between every tune. It was unbelievable. I mean, I'd sit there with my mouth open catching flies the whole time. I couldn't believe it, you know. And the question I had in my head, which is really humorous, was, well, how do these people know about B.B. King? Because I heard about him from the Rolling Stones and Eric Clapton all talking about him, you know. So that's how dumb I was. And so I didn't put it together until I was in my 60s. That, okay, there were other rooms in Wilmington that these guys were playing all the time. That Howlin' Wolf played there, Willie Dixon, everybody, you know. And I was astounded. Also, you probably I don't know if you know anything about the Delta blues scene, but there was a guy named Frank Hovington from downstate. Played a lot like Mississippi John Hurt. And Mississippi John Hurt played down there. There was a party circuit that happened down there. I kind of discovered, and I was really fascinated with it. He did 3 albums on Rounder Records. And Tommy Alderson's dad, unfortunately, I can't talk to Tommy Alderson's dad, built 2 guitars for John Hurt. And John Hurt played down there all the time. Evidently, I have got no leads to that whatsoever. But I would love to, I particularly love Delta Blues. I mean, as far as I heard, they said Bucka White, Arthur Bieber, Crudup, Furry Lewis, they all played in that same circuit.
Okay.
You know.
That was the chillin' circuit, huh?
Yeah, well, this was like a party circuit. It was downstate. This was acoustic blues. It was a little different.
Okay. Yeah.
You know.
Have you talked to the Teat family?
No.
The Teat family, I think they're just south of Dover. They had what's the old Dover Mall. I think it's on the right if you're heading south. Anyway, they had a huge blues / country center there, and everybody would come and play.
Do you know who was involved with that?
Who?
Phil's father.
Phil
Robbins' father. He had this, I can't remember the name of the country band, but he played with these blues people. That's how Phil got into the blues.
One of our other board members is Tim Cleary, and Tim plays with Glass Onion right now. The guy who runs Glass Onion is Dale Teat, and it's his family played. They've been Dale Teat has taken his time. He's watching us to make sure we're really something that's happening. The Delaware Rock and Roll Hall of Fame goes. So I'm sure he's beginning to get that idea. But he's a guy you need to talk to because his mom's still around, and yeah.
I'd love to talk. I mean, for me, it's it's greedy and personal. I do the tent at our St. George's Blues Festival every year. I do a thing called The Session, the last weekend every month, where people come and jam with me. I was rehearsing to play in Ireland, and I was playing Delta Blues, but I was playing in Ireland, so I started working over there once a week when it was actually a country store, and it's a long story, but now it's a Cajun bar and all this other stuff. So what I want to do is, and at the beginning of my tent, I put up this what I have now. I'd like to have more, stating that this is not new to Delaware. These people have played here before, and just try to get to to make people understand there is some depth here, some history. And not that I'm not interested in the rock things or the imagine singing and not having anybody back you up. That thought terrifies me personally, but I'm in awe. So that's amazing. You got gigs doing that, right? Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing.
So they were the group. The heck with the band. Yeah. They were the group.
How long did you guys stay together?
Over the years, I say we sang and stayed together over 20 years.
Wow.
Wow.
God bless.
Temptations them didn't have anything on us. They had nothing on us.
No longevity. You guys got it cornered.
Mm-hmm. Where did you first record? Where was the studio?
New York City.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And what was the label?
Treat Record Label.
Treat
Record Label, New York City.
And did you record with them your whole career, or move around?
Well, we recorded 4 songs. That's all in one day. And
that's the other thing I was going to ask you. I have a little studio now.
Yeah.
And it was much quicker in those days.
Well, it wasn't, because we was in that studio almost 13 hours.
Wow.
We had to cut out verses. We had to beat increase, because it had to be under 2 minutes and 54.
And you were
53
physically
seconds.
cutting tape in those days.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Well, now, I'll give you an example. We're doing a CD that we've been working on for a year and a half. So,
I'm doing the same thing.
and I remember somebody I knew used to work with Ricky Nelson, and he was, they're, I guess, Ozzy and Harriet. Well, Harriet recorded, and she was saying to the two young ones who were coming up, because I guess this guy named was Steve Love, I think his name was, bass player who played with Ricky Nelson, and they were talking, and he overheard the conversation. She says, "Well, why is this record taking so long?" And she went, "Well, Grandma, we got this and we got that. We had to do this." And she says, "Well, how long did it take you?" She says, "Oh, about 3 hours."
Yeah. Well, see, that was standard recording procedure in the old days.
I mean, it was all
You
one
know,
tape.
well, what you did was you had 3 hours to record for. You did 4 sides in 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know, when you talk about Ozzy, you talk about Ozzy and Harriet. Well, of course, Harriet was a band singer.
Yeah.
You know, Ozzy Nelson was a band
leader.
He was a band leader. He was a
Yeah.
saxophone player.
Yeah.
He made records for years back in the 30s.
I just
40s.
It just tickled me because my grandmom. "Well, how long did it take you?" "Well, 3 hours."
Yeah.
They've been working
That's
their
it.
album for a year, much like myself. I'm not criticizing them. It just found it humorous that
Yeah.
the technique's gotten so much more elaborate.
Of course, the thing that helped too was a lot of those times they went in with arranger. You already had some of it pre-planned. You know,
Oh, yeah.
usually there were arrangers that would write arrangements and have at least a blueprint of what you wanted
Right.
to do.
Yeah, you had
But
to be-
sometimes it would still take several takes to get something just right.
But you couldn't change the pitch. You could change the pitch and tape, but it was extremely difficult. I mean, you really had to have your vocals dead on.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah.
You had to be well rehearsed when you went in.
Griff, I know you did this in 1954. You went and set up you did all 4 recordings, but something didn't get released till 73.
And
What
I
happened with
was
that?
shocked to find that out. In fact, Steve shared that with me. I was wondering how come I never heard The Night and My Love. And he shared with me that it wasn't released to 74.
Wow.
So I don't know whatever happened with that, because contracts with our manager really didn't pan out, because we haven't gotten a dime to this day.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
That seems to be the
We
business.
have not received on
1 penny.
1 penny out of them songs. So it's
Wow.
just for the fun of it.
Well, which one between the Cry and The Night did you like better?
I must admit, since I came up with the idea of the 10 Commandments of love,
Love it.
I have to say that was it. But I look back and laugh now, because as a young person attempting to write a song, I was something like James Brown. I was trying to make sure each last word rhymed
With the,
with the last.
Yes, yes.
So I ran out of things to say in the 10 Commandments, and I think we did about 6 or 7.
You ran out of rhymes.
Yeah, I ran out of rhymes. And that was so funny. When I saw the replies on YouTube, yeah, they sang the 10 Commandments of love, but we only heard 6, and they repeated 2 of them 3 times.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
I like to feel, and I said, I didn't realize that. I thought we were singing. Oh man!
There you go. Yeah, the line goes, "How happy
But what was
we
so
will be."
enjoyable about it was the harmony. It wasn't the word each thing. We were synchronized with the 5 of us. We had good good harmony.
Okay.
Now don't confuse the two. The 10 Commandments of Love he's talking about is not the same one.
Oh, no,
Not
I
the
know
same
one.
one as Harvey and the Moon Girls.
Oh, how happy
That's
we
that's
will
Harvey.
be.
That's Harvey.
Yeah.
That's Harvey Fuqua and the Moon Girls. That's not theirs.
That's
The Harvey Fuqua tune came out in '58.
How does
Yes.
yours go?
I'm writing these commandments just to tell you why our love has unfolded because of lies. Oh, 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 bam.
Nice.
Okay.
See, that was a different singing than what he's singing. It was a different singing style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, back at that time, '54. You know, the basic your basic groups were Sonny Chill and the Orioles. You know, the Ravens.
The Clovers.
Yeah, the Clovers were out. Clovers were out. The Larks were out. The Robins were out. There were a lot of those type of groups were really just coming out at that time. A lot of them were brand new. The Ravens and the Orioles led the way.
Right.
And the Orioles probably get more credit to being the
Group.
overall. They were the overall group. Everybody was trying to emulate them.
And the guy that led in on the 10 Commandments, Norman, Mitchell's brother-in-law, had sang with the Ravens at one period.
Oh, wow.
Norman-
How cool is that?
Wilburn.
Yeah, Mitch's brother-in-law.
Right.
He had done a little stint with the Ravens.
Okay.
So that's why Mitch assigned him to us to teach us our notes and things of that nature.
How to work it, how to make it congeal.
Right.
Yeah.
Is anybody in your family followed in your footsteps singing or anything?
No,
Yeah.
no. I have 6 kids, 14 grand, and 8 great grand, and ne'er one of them sing.
Do they know about
They
the
were
records?
on listening to it this morning.
Oh,
I called everybody. I told everybody to dial in 91.3.
fabulous.
I got calls back. Griff, we heard you. We heard you.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's
Great grandchildren. That's another impressive fact. I got 10 grandchildren myself.
You do?
I do, but I have no great
I
ones
beat
yet.
all of you. I got 16 grandchildren. I got 8 grandchildren.
Really?
Yeah.
heavens, woman.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
Well, when you have 6 girls in the family, they like to reproduce. I don't know what that is, but
There you go.
Yeah, I have 4 girls and 2 boys.
the girls are the worst.
Yeah.
And nobody is a singer. My
Nobody's
goodness.
Oh, they all sing.
Yeah.
And we got them get ready to do a whole recording and everything. They looked at me and said, "You know, I don't want to do this. You're not rich." And I went, "I am rich. Look at what I have." And they said, "No, you don't understand. We want to make money." So that ended my kids' music
Tell them
career.
about Griff. Yeah. Tell them about Griff. Yeah.
Well, the thing is, I'm getting older and still singing, and I'm teaching, and I'm hitting notes that are better and everything. And I keep thinking, when is this going to stop? I mean, when is it going to go? When does your voice stop being so strong? And when is your...
That's a good question. I don't put a limit on it because right now I sing in my church.
Nice.
I sing in the choir and blah blah blah. And so I can hear my voice being rasped a little bit. It's not like it used to be. But I cough, drink a glass of water and get over it and go and do my lead.
That's what I do when I'm singing. I drink water.
Do you ever
yeah.
change any of your keys, or you're still singing the same
I
key?
tried to sing in B flat or D. I tell my piano player or the organist or whoever is backing us in church, I'm going to lead this song and give me a D or E flat or whatever the case might be, and then I go from there.
When you original recording, did you still sing in the same keys when you were younger?
Yeah,
You did?
yeah.
Okay.
Our bass would. He had the key. He was our pit point.
Okay.
The bass guy would always know what
Right on.
key to hit,
Yeah.
and then we went from there.
Does your wife sing?
Does my wife sing?
Yes.
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
no.
She
But,
gets to be your audience.
Now, I will share one thing with that. My wife is from Chester, Pennsylvania. We've been married about 14 years now. This is her second marriage, my third. And her former husband, who there's pictures over there, had a singing group in Chester. And I understand she shared with me, and he tried to imitate the same people that I tried to imitate.
Oh my goodness.
Sonny Till. But here's the craziest thing, and I don't know where I wanted that on
The recording.
recording, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
When I met my wife, it was in church, and we got acquainted, and her husband was sick, and he had cancer, and my pastor did the funeral, and as a deacon, I sat up in the minister box with my pastor when he done
The service.
and when I went down to greet the family, you know, I extended my feelings for, you know, the loss of her husband, and we spoke a couple times in church from there on, and I sort of took a liking to her, and I got a little engrossed, and I asked her out, blah blah. One story led to another, and we decided we'd hang out and get married. And before that, though, one of the dates that I had with her, I came here, because this was where her and her husband, former husband, lived. And she brought out an album book and showed him in the service. And she mentioned the fact that he was in Germany. I said, oh yeah, when? She said 1955 through 1958. I said, no kidding. I said, so was I. Mm-hmm. And she said, he was a paratrooper in the 11th Airborne. I said, do what? She said he was a paratrooper in the 11th Airborne. I said, so was I. His birthday is February the 20th or 22nd. My birthday is February the 28th.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
We both were born in 1938. We both are the same height. We like the same colors clothing.
You like the same women.
Absolutely.
And she likes her singers. Yes.
That's something
That is incredible.
Was horrendous. I
Well,
couldn't
And you
believe
never met?
I went and had prayer with him before he passed with another deacon in my church who knew them. He had done the rugs and stuff for him. He cleaned the rug. And he shared with me, Griffin, would you go up to Crozier in Chester with me? Miss Ruby's husband is, going to pass away. I'd like to have a word of prayer. And would you lead in prayer? And I said, yeah. The whole time I prayed, that man looked at me straight in my face and didn't bat an eye.
Wow.
As if to say,
I know you.
I know you.
Yeah.
You're going to wind up with my wife.
Oh, nice.
But that was something. That was.
You never know, do you?
No, you never know.
Never know.
Never know.
It was supposed
That
to
the old
be.
saying, you can't judge a book by its cover.
By its cover,
It
yeah.
is true.
Did you ever tour in New York or Philadelphia?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Where'd you play in New York?
All over. We've done the Uptown Theater when it was on Broad Street. Remember they used to have rock
Did you
shows.
ever do the Apollo?
We did the.
Oh my God,
Oh,
that
yeah.
must have been fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the other part where you could talk about the Chitlin circuit. That
Yeah.
was like the glamorous part of the Chitlin
Yeah.
circuit, where the big theaters where they acts, where you felt like, wow, you made it. The Regal in Chicago, the Howard
Regal,
Theater
yeah.
in Washington,
Washington,
the
D.C.
Royal Theater in Baltimore, the
Yeah.
Uptown in Philly, and of course the big one was the Apollo.
The Apollo, I mean,
You played the Apollo and got over the Apollo. You were pretty much
Pretty much that.
You were
Regal
there.
was-
You were
in
solid.
Chicago, Regal was the place, and those are my favorite records, B.B. King live at the Regal. I think
Yeah,
it was
that
in
album.
67.
That album cooks from top to bottom.
It's amazing, and it's all, stereo recording. There was no multi-track on that record. It was just whoever did the mix did a great job on site, because if he didn't, it wasn't going to happen. You know, it was a stereo
I think
recording.
that's probably, of all the live records he made, I think that was the best one.
That's my favorite record of all time. I've worn out 3 of them in vinyl, and then I got 4 of them as
Digital?
gifts because the vinyl was dead in CD, you know. And I'm rooting through the piles trying to find another vinyl one because I prefer the vinyl to listen to.
That
you
record
know.
place in Pittsburgh.
Oh, they probably would have it.
Yeah.
I'm quite sure they will. They
Yeah.
probably would.
Yeah.
So I'm
Got
trying to
some
find
suggestions.
another.
Do you remember the
vinyl.
first blues song you ever heard, and how it grabbed you?
Well, the first actual blues song I ever heard was that album, Live in the Regal. It would have been, Every Day I Got the Blues, the opening cut.
You're starting at the
Joe
top.
Joe Williams.
But then I saw.
Actually, Joe Williams was just one of the people that recorded it.
Okay.
It goes back to Memphis Slim.
Okay.
Memphis Slim wrote the song and first recorded it in '47, and it wasn't called Every Day I Have the Blues. The original record came out as Nobody Loves Me. The first person that made it as Every Day I Have the Blues was Lowell Folsom in
Yeah.
1950. Then you got Joe Williams, 52, B.B. King, 54, and B.B. took it over as his theme song.
Yeah, and I think it's a great. And the first Delta player I ever saw was Sleepy John Estes. That blew my mind too because I went to Washington D.C. I think it was '70 for a folk festival, and it's not like the festivals we have now. There were 2 pieces of plywood on the grass, and there was a chair in the middle, and it was a Bogan 50-watt power amp with 2 little speaker columns on each side.
I remember stuff like that.
So I'm sitting there going, I paid $3 to get in here, and this is what I'm going to see. I got this equipment, and then he came out, and he was I think he was in his 70s. And to me, I'm 19 or 18, whatever I was a kid, stupid kid at that. I mean, I'm thinking, once I got better and the best guitar player in my neighborhood, I'm playing for the Rolling Stones, It's going to be great. But they brought him out, and they just about carried him to the chair and put the guitars in this lab, and I'm thinking, oh, man, I just threw him out $3. Then he opened with Drop Down Mama and just absolutely blew my mind. I was like, oh, my God, maybe I'm not the greatest guitar player. I mean, listen to this guy. I mean, he sounded like a 747 taking off. I mean, it was unreal. That was the big turning point for me.
Nice.
Well, Griff,
Nice.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, when you were starting out, you were working the street corners and the temple and whatever, who were the stars that you really, wanted to pattern yourself after or had great respect for?
5 Keys. He named him Sonny Till Williams.
Right.
Hank Ballard and the Midnighters. I think one more. The Clovers.
Oh, yeah.
We tried to do everything we done was group songs, quartet songs, and those were the groups that we attained to try to
Emulate.
emulate.
Yeah.
Did you see them live the day?
Yeah.
Then when you were young, before you
They used to come to the temple.
Yeah.
The place that you had, I think you have it.
There's
in Orange.
Union something or another. The Oddfellows.
Oddfellows,
Yes.
Everybody
Yeah.
came.
Everybody
to the
came.
temple.
Everybody
Yeah,
came
everybody.
through there.
But I mean, it wasn't one of those kind of epiphany things where it just blew your mind when you first saw them. And that's what happened to me. I mean,
Well, you're taken when you see them,
Yeah.
the dance steps that they had back then, and you said, man, I sure would like to do that.
Yeah.
I know that one.
Did the Five Diamonds have a dance routine? Did they have a stage?
We did not have a synchronized, we just did whatever the feeling came.
Okay, so you just rocked it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Each one of us was doing our own individual thing. We did not have nothing down pat. And that's what made us so different, I think.
Yeah, there you go. And everybody could plug into that
Yep.
instead of trying, we always tried to copy the Temptations and the
Yeah.
dance moves.
Nope,
You
we
can
didn't do
never
that.
quite get it synchronized because one person was better than the other. But you guys, you were just grooving.
Just grooving. That's
I
all we
love it.
did.
I have another question.
Yes.
Is there any recordings, film recordings of you guys performing?
No.
Oh,
Unable to get those, and nobody was recording us those days.
wow.
Do you ever remember photographs being taken? You know, if there's,
Only the two that I had that I
Okay.
shared with you.
yeah, we want to make copies of those.
I think he did make a copy. didn't
Well, he took a picture, right, of the group photos last time
Yeah.
we were here, and they actually could be done better. You know, we could scan them. You know,
Yeah, I think we should scan them because my photography.
Well, you should. You know, it has nothing to do with your
Oy vey.
photography. It should be done in the right way.
We used to
you know?
say Uckenbay when we got in trouble.
Oikavolt.
Yeah, I go
Could
Boulder,
you put something
Uckenbay.
out on Facebook saying you're looking for photos? There may be somebody has something that they didn't know got
That's
taken.
true. That's true.
Well, if Mitch was your promoter, you know, way back when, maybe somebody has some of his stuff and there's a picture amongst it. What do you think?
Could
Larry?
be.
I don't know.
Steve.
Mitch has a son. I've never met him. He lives down in Atlanta, last I heard.
Oh yeah.
I don't know what he has or anything.
Might be worth trying to connect with him.
Well, you've got to put in an official format as the Delaware, you know, Rock and Roll Hall
On the
of Fame.
page, you mean?
On the page, something like that, where it goes out on Facebook and just see if there's anybody's got some stuff. Because it's amazing stuff you find. I never saw a picture of Robert Johnson until I went to Ireland. And same thing with Jimmy Reed. You know, and when I was in Ireland playing a place called Mojo's, which is a biker bar in Cork City, which is quite another humorous story. But nonetheless, I look on the wall and there's a picture of Jimmy Reed. I had never seen a picture of Jimmy Reed. I was like, wow.
Didn't you love
But
Dublin,
now they're just a
Ireland?
million, huh?
Didn't you love Dublin, Ireland for the music? It's amazing
The
there.
music is amazing. There actually is quite a bit to, if you really want me to bore you to death, I can. But if you really get into it, because when I was in Dublin, I have a friend there, Martin Denning, great Irish trad musician and singer-songwriter, and he said one time I was there, he said, you know, your stuff, because I don't play Irish, to me Irish music was Danny Boy when I first went there, and now I understand the Celtic element. They're amazing players. And he said, your stuff reminds me of this, and he played me a piece, and I was, wow, that's really close to what I do. The difference was he accented on the 1 and the 3, and I accented on the 2 and the 4. And I'm going, wow, that's amazing. The rhythm sections are really similar.
Jazz, right?
Why? And so I started researching. It's really difficult to find. Everything I like to do seems to turn out difficult. It's really difficult to find because the music, as was told me by Jerry Ricks, comes from slaves. You know, in Mississippi in specific, cotton people who picked cotton. That's where the little epicenter was. And he said it's half. This, I'm a kid again. Remember my stupidity level. I'm a kid, you know, so I don't really have a world grasp. It's African and it's European, and
Right,
they mess
married.
together, you get the 5-note scale. It gets more complicated than that, but nonetheless, that's what he told me. So I took, okay, African and Beethoven, but it wasn't African and Beethoven. It was African and Celtic. I knew nothing of Celtic
Right.
music. And the reason for that is because the music comes from 2 slaves, not just 1. 90% of the people who took care of the slaves in Mississippi, because it was a really ugly job, nobody really wanted to do it. And, you know, they got indentured servants, almost always from Scotland. And so basically,
Scots-Irish.
Well, that's where the Irish were sent over for owing money and all kinds of things.
yeah,
and
well,
they put them to
they're
work.
basically
Yeah.
they're slaves for a time period.
Working
But
off their obligation.
Whatever you tell them to do, they have to do, or you're going to kill them.
Right.
You know, and then the British will send you another one, wherever
Right.
they got them from. And so on plantation, Celtic music was played all the time. So the Africans had their roots, and they also had this new music in their ear every night. And if you look into it, drop D, open D, dad, gad, D minor, open G, open E, open A are all Celtic tunings. Most of them, a lot of them, I'm not mistaken, a lot of them are bouzouki tunings.
Right.
Nonetheless, they're all used in Delta blues. Like Skip James used D minor quite frequently. One of my favorites, though I can't think of now because I'm getting to be an old geezer myself.
You're funny,
Tommy Johnson would play drop D all the time, and it's very, very common Celtic tuning, you know.
That's what blew me away when I went there. I kept hearing all of this, and I said,
Well,
"Oh my God, this is where the real music came from." This
also
combination.
bluegrass is just another
Yeah.
extension of it, and the whole mountain music down in that area.
Yeah.
That's all part of it. It's amazing how it just. And of course, then it came out of the Mississippi Delta, where there were all kinds of musical influences coming in there. So it got mixed up with everything, you know.
Yeah.
So it's anyway, like I said, just tell Gary, shut up, because I could really
I
bore
will
you to
cry
death
if you
with
say
this.
that to me.
There you go.
I will understand. I will not cry.
And it's in jazz too.
Yes, it
although
is.
jazz players would tell you, would get sophisticated and tell you that 5-note thing is a pentatonic scale.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of, which if you go back to the piano, just go back to the black keys.
Yeah.
You go back. If you go back to the black keys, you play F sharp all the way up. You're getting boom, 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 boom. That's boogie.
But it wasn't used
that's
in-
boogie woogie. That's boogie. That's boogie
Yeah.
woogie.
But it wasn't used in
boogie
popular
woogie.
music. I mean, that blues kind of infused it into popular music. And actually, there was a guy named, I can really bore you to death with it. There's a guy named Bartok. He was a Hungarian.
Oh my God, yeah.
He was a
Bartok
producer.
has classical music.
Classical
yeah.
music. But he was
I
a
studied
folk
Bartok.
musician before that. And in his composition, he uses the 5-note scale. The difference is the rhythm structure. And I believe, personally, that the African influence was they accented on the 2 and the 4. We as Europeans accented on the 1 and 3 quite naturally. You know, but we don't in America because of that influence, you know. But that's a personal belief. I got nothing to back that up. I'm just guessing from my little personal experience, you know.
You know,
Griff,
then
did
going
you-
back to those black keys to the piano, what we call blue notes. You know, that's where you flatted third,
Yeah.
and you flatted fifth, and your dominant 7. Those are your blue
Blue
notes.
notes.
Those are the notes that when you sing them, when you play them, that's what makes the blues.
Yeah, and it's interesting if you try to tie in jazz and blues together. When it's separated, did it separate? Was it one and the same at one time? It gets pretty complicated, you know.
Well,
Griff?
what it is really that the blues is actually the foundation of jazz. You know,
That's what
usually,
I
you know,
believe that.
if you think about blues is the foundation of most of America's music.
Every American form of music, blues is definitely the foundation. And it called my personal beliefs. If you can make yourself better singing field songs when you're picking cotton at 100 degrees for 12 hours a day, you're on to something.
Yes.
It goes to
Yes.
show you how.
And the world
yeah.
picked up on it.
Yeah.
Mind strength means a lot.
But you know, going back to what you said earlier about those British groups, you really have to thank them because blues in the '60s was pretty much dying.
It was dying,
You know,
yeah.
it was dying. You know,
Yeah,
because
well-
the young people like people that in my generation were listening to Motown.
Motown,
They were listening to Stax, you know, coming out of Memphis, you know, soul music. Most of them were not listening to the
Blues,
blues.
no,
You know,
it was-
if you mention people, somebody like a B.B. King or a Howlin' Wolf or Muddy Waters or people like that, they would look at you, who in the world were they? They had no idea. They were like, that was mom and dad's music.
There you
But
go.
you know, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and all the British groups came over here, and they began to play this music, and they would say, well, look, this is America's music. This stuff was here all the time, and you guys didn't even know it.
Right.
Well,
And
it's
what
like
it
we
did-
don't know our own.
Well, I say, yeah,
Yeah.
but what it did, but the good thing is that it jump-started the careers of all of those blues
Well,
singers.
it did really help, and it also a lot of stuff got stolen from those guys. Like Bucka White died poverty-stricken. Led Zeppelin did, as far as I know, 7 of his tunes, but I'm not positive about that. But lots of times the royalties didn't go to him. I'll give you one example. Jimmy Rogers is one of my all-time favorite guys. He worked with Muddy Waters for all those years, and he did a song, Walking By Myself, and a guy named Gary Moore recorded it. Gary Moore was from Northern Ireland. He played with Thin Lizzy, and he did an album called Still Got the Blues, and it was a huge hit in Europe and the rest of the world. It only sold 80,000 copies here, or no, 280,000, but worldwide it was over 3 million. So friends of mine were playing for Jimmy Rogers, and Jimmy Rogers finally was starting to get some of his due from some of the rock and roll guys, and I don't know if the album ever made it to fruition or not, but there was a party where all the big rock guys were there, and then Jimmy Rogers' manager was there, and he walked up to Gary Moore's manager and said, "You know, how you doing? Great. You sold $3 million. You owe me a check, don't you?"
Yeah. There you go, Griff. There you go.
The line goes this way. Well, no, Jimmy Rogers is dead. And he says, "No, he's not. He's standing right there."
Oh, my goodness.
That was a great story. So, and then all of a sudden they were being booked by Rosebud, which at the time was the best agency for blues. And they were making more money, and Jimmy didn't have to be a carpenter anymore.
All right.
After that,
You know, he got out of music for several years. After 59.
he was a master carpenter. You know, he's a great carpenter.
Well, rolling back to Griff here.
Yeah,
sorry.
sorry.
I got a couple of quick questions. Number one, did your parents sing, and did any of them play instruments?
No, they did not. And speaking of my parents, I was raised by foster parents.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
I think you told us that.
Yeah, they were not my biological, but they were mom and dad. I was with them from the age of 2 weeks old until I was 17. And they signed for me to go into service.
Oh,
I had to get their signature.
Sure.
Volunteer.
Sure, at that age. Yeah.
But
you
mom and
wouldn't
dad
have
was mom and dad.
Did you hear a lot of music in the house?
Yeah, my foster brothers, they had the old 78s. That's where I got a lot of memory. I mentioned the Spiders and the old groups. I used to stand in the mirror with a comb or a hairbrush and imitate, thinking I was sounding just like them.
That's great.
That is so cool. I thought I was so cool when I would
Yeah.
do that with the hairbrush.
Yeah, with the hairbrush.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's great. Well, you can control where it goes, too.
Yeah.
So, you don't lose track of it. Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it.
It's so neat. I like the way the whole marriage thing of the music and how much the music has now created a new society that's coming up, and it's just beginning to show. It's an international language, and we're all starting to talk different than we once did, and that's a good thing.
Yes,
right.
it is. Great point.
All right.
Great point. Let's talk a little bit about, those guys who couldn't be here.
Okay.
Okay? You all knew each other in high school. Everybody was in Howard at that point
Yes.
in high school.
In high school, we all,
And where did, each of them kind of come from? Did most of you come from singing in church?
no, it's just the thing.
Singing with the hairbrush.
Singing with the hairbrush and with over here one person singing and hey, I do a harmony with him, then another guy do a harmony with me, and then before you know it, you got 5-part harmony, and then hey, we can do something with this.
Did you get in trouble in the hallways singing? Or
We used to get
bathroom?
put out of the bathroom because we would rehearse, but we got all
Got
the
good acoustics. Yes.
Yeah, we got to get in there. Will you all come out of there? So we'd laugh and come on out.
I love it. And were there dances at Howard?
Yeah.
Did you guys
Not
sing
only
at
at
the
Howard,
dances?
we had a place called St. Matthew's down at 7th and Walnut Street. And Mr. Harris, a high school teacher, used to have dances there every Friday and Saturday night. And that's where everybody congregated. We were too young to go to
Was
the
that
temple.
Charles Harris?
Huh?
Was that Mr. Charles Harris?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
I can make a few. Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I remember him because I remember he used to do that when my first year at Bancroft. And when I was in 7th grade, he used to bring his 78s.
Yeah, okay.
And the only person who was paying any attention.
They called him
those were
C.P. Harris.
C.P. Harris, right?
C.P. Harris.
Yeah,
that's
he
what
used
they
to bring his
called him.
78s, and I think I was the only one paying any attention to him. I wound up with most of them. He gave them to me.
Nice, Larry. Look at
That's
how
a real
history
connection.
connects.
I didn't know he went that far back in Howard High.
Yes. Mr. Harris. Mr. Harris. I remember he played a song, and you named the group, And I remember this song to this day, and it was actually did a lot of talking. The Letter.
Oh, the medallions.
Darnell?
The medallions.
The medallion.
Medallion.
Yeah. Darling, I'm writing this letter knowing well that you should never read it. But each time I write you, darling, I pen what lips can't say. Because I love you, although you're so far away. My words gain meanings that only love alone can tell. And I always hope and wish you well. Darling, what is there worse on this earth than to be unable to stop loving you, knowing well that I should? To me a blind day, to me a blind night, for us to love and to kiss and then turn around and fight. Let me whisper sweet words of pismotality. I never knew what that meant. And
Nobody does that.
and discuss the properties of love. And what do we have? Matrimony. That was that song. I never forgot.
I think Vernon Green, the lead singer, just made that word up.
There you go.
Never knew what the pismotality of love meant.
You know, a lot of the guys who did rock and roll, especially my sons and stuff, they all went into it with, how do I clean this up? With the thing about getting women. That was their goal, to score women. Did you guys go into music because you thought you'd get more attention from women?
No, I was in the service, and you probably laugh at this. That song that I just mentioned, I used to write that song to every young girl. I sent that letter to everybody.
Oh my goodness.
And they would fall out.
Use what works.
Oh my God, that's great.
That was
Griff.
my icebreaker.
You were a poet.
How the heck did you follow that? Oh, baby.
Yeah, I sure
A
did.
little bit of poetry there.
Well, I'm noticing sometimes now with the students I'm getting that are doing hip hop, and they're bringing in the talking more like years ago,
Yeah.
and they're also singing, now beginning to sing, and I'm like, look at where this is going. It's
Right.
going right back to the era where people were singing and talking and doing a cappella. This one kid stops the band and does this whole thing, and I swear to God, it's the 60s.
Okay.
I just look at him and go, wow, if you don't know where that's from, oh, we just made it up. No, you didn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything comes from something.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would, once again, I hate the Irish thing of it. We were in Ennis, and I had a night off, and I went into this little pub, and there was a guy who had a stick puppet, and he was doing straight ahead rap. It was rap, and I'm going, wow, I didn't know you guys were into rap. And they looked at me like,
That's
what?
not rap.
What's
This
rap?
is from the 16th century.
Man.
I said, this rap comes from us. That's what they all
love it.
said. I'm like, I'm okay. I'm good at.
Yeah.
I'm not taking on the bar.
They know so much more than we do about our own
Yeah.
music.
If you blow a verse, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, when you get the lyrics wrong, they tell you.
Oh, they do. Believe me.
I've
in
been
Ireland,
there.
they
Been
tell
there.
So as we talk about the other members of the group,
Yeah, I was about to ask,
yeah, what are how about a favorite story about each different member of the group?
Well, first of all, who were they? I mean, we know about William Loper, we know about Jimmy Smith. Who were the others?
Another one of the other members was a guy named Chick Lloyd. Chick Lloyd was our bass, and Coleman Griffin. He was the second tenor and lead singer of I Cried and Cried and The Night.
Okay.
And we all were in, let me see, Coleman, myself, and I can't remember what class Loper was in. But we was all at Howard, and we all came from different segments of the city. Coleman Griffin lived over around on the west side, over around 14th and Tatnall, over in that area. Loper lived at 12th and West. I was from Belvedere. And Chick Lloyd lived over, I think, Millside or Dunleavy, somewhere over South Bridge. Mm-hmm. And who did I live at? Jimmy Smith. Jimmy Smith lived down at 4th Street. right off of where, you remember the Blue Hen bowling alley or something? Used to be right at 4th and that would be...
Like way out on the west side?
No. Used to be L.I. Kidd Factory.
Oh, okay. The leather factory.
Yes, right
Yeah.
there at the corner, Monroe, 4th and Monroe.
Okay.
In that area. And right across the street, I remember seeing this sign, Blue Hen. I don't know if that was a club or a bar or what, but our bus going in town would make that right on 4th Street, and I always saw that. But Jimmy lived over there. But like I said, we used to go to each other's homes and rehearse.
So who was the joker of the group?
The joker of the 5 Diamonds at that time, we didn't have none.
Okay. Nobody who was...
Everybody was
No,
serious?
everywhere we were serious. Now, when we regrouped after several of them passed away, Sherman Money joined the group, Edwin Johnson joined the group, and a guy named Bruce Gaston, because Coleman Griffin died, Loper went into ministry, and Chick Louie died. And so we replaced him with Sherman, Edwin, and Bruce. Now, Bruce was the joker. You'll see him in the picture in the plaid jacket doing the split in the picture.
Yes.
That's the
Okay.
he was the jokester. Yeah.
So how many of these guys can we get to reform your group to sing?
None of them.
Not even
Okay.
Jimmy Smith?
No. He's 81, and he's ill.
Okay.
And Loper, I said, has been in an institution for 3 years. I'm the only one left.
Okay. Well, you know what we want to do is, because we want you to sing, we want to, pull you together. The guys from Teddy and the Continentals,
Yeah, the Continentals, we did some singing. I actually sang with the Continentals.
Yes.
We were over there the other...
Oh, yeah.
Boney Maroney.
Boney
Well, they
Maroney,
heard
yeah.
Larry Williams. We all broke into Boney Maroney. Right?
Yes.
Bone in my round.
But they all, their voices are intact. They're really good. They sounded fine, and what we were thinking of is if you and them could get together and maybe sing each other's song or songs for
Or
the...
one of your songs or
Yeah.
something so you could sing with.
Well, I'm really not a lead singer.
Right.
I was always in the background. I don't like leading. I tell my pastor all the time, don't put me out there. Let me do my background. I'm a harmonizer. I'm not a lead singer.
Oh,
so.
I know that feeling. Harmony is great.
Well, maybe they could do 10 Commandments and you could not lead.
Do the 6.
Do the
Right.
6.
The ones
So,
we're missing,
who's
right?
going to do number 7? Yeah. Who's going to do number 7?
I don't know.
Yeah. That's great.
Can I ask another question?
Sure you may.
You came from Belvedere. Do you know the West family?
The West.
West? Sheila West?
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's Kanye West's aunt and family.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I'm friends with them.
Okay. Well, I work with Vic.
Vic Hawkins?
That's
Sheila's husband?
Yes.
I used to go out with him for 13 years. I went out with him for 13 and he and I broke up. And I said to him, you got to go. Sheila's husband had died. And I said, you have got to go back to Sheila. Because we were at the house when her husband was alive. And I watched Sheila watch him. And I went, she's in love with Vic. And I went, shut up. You can't say that. And then her husband died. And I told Vic, he was dating all these other women. He goes, I hate this. I can't stand it. I said, go call Sheila. And he called her, and within 1 year, they were married.
I went to the wedding.
I was at the wedding also.
I'll be down.
Were you there?
Uh-huh.
With
Yeah, with
Kanye and Kim?
I held North.
I got
was holding the
pictures
baby.
of that.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man. He may have you in his history there.
Yeah, we had so much fun dancing with the kids, and it was great fun. Sheila is the loveliest person you have
In fact, he
ever
brought
met.
her out to the job one day last week.
Did you?
Mm-hmm.
I love her. And Vic and she are so happy. I said, see, I did the right thing. Broke up with you.
So you get to tell them now that you know Kitty Mayo.
The big mouth blonde, just they'll understand.
It's only one Kitty. Come on, only one Kitty.
I took pictures of, I had a couple of them.
Well, I think we're going to wrap this up.
Okay.
Anybody have any more questions?
I got one.
What do you think?
I'm just wondering how you guys picked your harmonies out. You know, you didn't use any instruments. Did you? You had to have some training to figure out harmonies.
Mm-hmm.
No.
No?
We all led from the bass. Whatever Chick hit, what key he put it in, even if it wasn't the key that we substantially sang it in, we just went from where he pitched.
So you use them as a bass line, but you still got to pick your notes.
Mm-hmm.
How did you pick your notes?
Well, if you
Well,
know
they
anything
automatically
about
heard it.
harmony,
Yeah.
it comes automatic.
If you
Yeah.
either got it or you don't.
Yeah, you got to have it.
I got to do the lead because I don't got the harmony.
I can do great harmony,
I'm just.
and I can go off
Curious
key
how you
with
did it.
everybody.
There you go. Stay right in line.
Well, it's basically
That's
your ears. It's basically
It's
your
ears,
it's your ears. You know, you just hear something
Sounds right.
and you just structure it from there.
Well, does anybody have any more questions? Because we'll just end it right here.
Okay, hang on.
There it is. Yeah.
Sharing the.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Is that you in there?
No, that's Vic and
oh.
Sheila.